Sick Note Britain. How do we get it back to work? talkTV is all about hearing from our viewers and listeners at home. Joining me now to run through all of the top stories is former Labour advisor Stella Chandakiddu and Communications Officer at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Reem Ibrahim. Welcome to the show. We're going to have a packed show today. I'm really excited about discussing some of these stories with you. We've got the left.
Some of our
we got the left and right of British politics. That's what we give you. It's like marching in the army, left, right, and I'm here as the Sergeant Major to keep you all in order. Stella, let me start with you about this Sick Note Britain. So really actually quite concerning story covered in many newspapers today about how Britain, I don't know if you're watching, listening at home, I don't know if this is COVID, if it's the society's changed, or people just not willing to go out there and put the work in. But this idea of Sick Note Britain, we're going to be spending £90 billion of taxpayers' cash paying people not to work. And a lot of that, Stella, is being linked to this huge surge we've seen in both adult and I think really interesting child mental health. What's your view on this story?
I think what's very interesting about the story is how the deep misunderstanding that some politicians have about the state of the nation and about how people are feeling and how people are doing in their day-to-day lives. The problem here is not that people are lying about their mental health or exaggerating the mental health, because to go on employment support allowance, to get benefits for your mental health, you need to actually reach a very high threshold.
Okay.
It's not that simple. For the doctor to sign you off as sick, you don't just walk into the office and say, hey, I'm too sick to work, and the doctor says, okay, fine. Now, there are two different debates here, right? And I think it's a bit manipulative of Mel Stride to actually conflate the two. One is, are we using the language of mental health and psychology? Are we abusing that language, rather? Are we saying I'm depressed rather than saying I'm sad? Are we saying I'm anxious
well, look, Stella, you're going off down there. I just want to talk to you about the numbers. So you will have your opportunity. Okay. Don't worry, we're talking about this all show. But I think one of the points that Mel Stride and the government is seeking to make, and why we should all be concerned about this, by the way, is not some magic money tree. We are all paying for these benefits through our taxes, but also there are a massive part of our population is debilitated in some way, because as Stella correctly says, it's quite hard to get these benefits. They're not sort of given away like sweeties. But just to look at the raw data, in the past 5 years, not a very long time in terms of benefits and government spending, the number claiming support for boys and girls, these are children getting the support, has doubled. So either people are more aware of this, or maybe there is something deeply wrong with our society that particularly young people, I have a personal interest in this. My son has autism. So I know about the challenges that parents face up and down this country dealing with children with autism and ADHD. And as a parent, I can say to you, if you've got a child and you're watching this at home, I know how difficult that is. But I don't know, even as a parent with a child with autism, why these numbers have doubled, Stella. So before we get onto the mental health, this is really concerning.
So behind these numbers, I think what you will find is an ever-increasing NHS waiting list, the cost of living crisis, anxiety for a lot of people, young people who no longer have access to the resources and the educational opportunities that they used to have. They no longer have the same community fabric that they used to enjoy. They have a lot less, they have less adults to turn to. They don't have the youth workers.
Yeah, but sorry, I get what you're saying. I just don't accept that, because if it was all, maybe that's a different point. But if it was all about NHS waiting lists, the numbers wouldn't be going up because no one would be diagnosed.
I honestly do believe that the stress that the cost of living crisis is bringing on people is filtering down to children.
Reem, come on, what do you think about this?
So I think this is a huge scandal. And I'm not just saying this because I believe that this is a waste of money. We're spending huge amounts of taxpayer money. I think that I fundamentally believe if you work for what you earn, you should keep most of it. Yeah. And unfortunately, under this Conservative government, we're seeing taxes rise to its 75-year high. But what I do believe, just taking away the tax system for a moment, taking away the fact that this is a waste of money, £90 billion a year, it's a waste of...
Oh, sorry, I'm going to pick you up on that. I don't think if you were relying on these benefits, you'd think it's a waste of money.
What I am
There
saying, Jake, it's a waste of human potential.
That's absolutely right.
It is.
Absolutely
There are so many people in this country that could be working that aren't. Now, I just want to run through these stats. Now, Fraser Nelson has been talking about this from The Spectator for quite a while now. He looked at the stats from the Department for Work and Pensions. Looking at Manchester specifically, there are 40,000 vacancies in Manchester, and there is an unemployment rate of 18%. Now, we're not just talking about those that are on pensions. You know, that isn't included in these statistics. 20% of people in our great cities in this country are unemployed. That is an absolute scandal. Now, we can talk about whether or not this is because that we've got a huge health epidemic. That in itself would be a scandal. I suspect the reason is slightly less that to be the case. I think that many people, when you actually end up on benefits, you end up reinforcing those huge.
Do you think
mental
benefits
health
are too
issues.
generous? Do you think people get too much money on benefits?
I don't think those specific people get too much money. Often it's actually a pittance. I think that too many people are on benefits, and I think that we need to be much more stringent about it. And I know this might sound like, oh, okay, of course, this person from the IEA thinks there are too many people on benefits. The fundamental problem here is that people aren't being productive and contributing to the economy, and that's a waste of human potential, and that's a tragedy in itself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, let me just put another question. I know Stella wanted to come onto this, and I want to make sure. So, look, I'll be honest with you at home. Just as the credits roll for talkTV, and I'm going to see all of you lovely people at home on Friday, I feel anxious. I have anxiety about that. It makes me really nervous. But it does feel a bit to me that those completely normal feelings of life where you feel, everyone feels anxiety on your wedding day or on your child's first day in school or a funeral of a loved family member. Everyone has those very strong feelings of anxiety and stress and fear. But what Mel Stride sort of said about this, that he believes that the approach to mental health has gone too far. And what I think, can't speak for Mel, what I think he meant by that is that those perfectly normal feelings of anxiety or stress or fear that we all have got to the point, I think this is the point Mel was trying to make, that they've now been medicalised. Now, clearly some people are crippled by anxiety and unable to function in life. But I think what Mel's getting at, and I want to pick you up on this, Stella, is that maybe he believes that that approach has gone too far and we're over-medicalising people for feelings rather than actual medical problems themselves.
Jake, I do believe there are some people who over-medicalize people. I do think there are some people who will exaggerate mental health terms and psychiatric.
I don't think they're I genuinely think it's how I feel. I don't think they're lying. But they are deeply affected by it.
But I do think that there are some people who will use psychiatric vocabulary to describe everyday conditions. I disagree with a British government minister bringing this as an excuse for basically saying that people are lying to receive benefits rather than tackling the actual situation, which is that simply some people are too sick to work and we haven't done enough to help these people.
I don't believe that to be true. I do think that there are many people in this country that are too sick to work. But what an insult to the millions of hard-working people in this country that go to work every day, that take it on the chin, that feel the many issues that we feel in this country, the cost of living crisis, the fact that NHS waiting lists are going up to almost 8 million. There are so many failures in this country. And yet, what an insult it is to those hard-working people in this country that get up every day and contribute to the economy, that provide for their families. And yet there are many other
people. These are different cohorts of people.
Okay.
The people who are in
I'm going to ask you for a one-word answer each, because we're going to keep coming back to this. And actually, we want to hear from you, because we think we might have some of the answers here on talkTV. It's a channel that likes to come up with the answers, but we probably don't. So make sure you call in, because we want to know if you've got any solutions about how we get Britain back to work.